Hey group, it's Justine here. How are you? Rhetorical question. I can't hear you if you answer. We're going to go over our last lecture for this class, and we're basically going to cover the topic of spotting in blacks, designing in blacks, basically just using black throughout the image, which will apply to your final homework, which is re-inking the fly, which we did at the beginning of the class. But now we're going to use all our tricks and see what happens. Some of you probably have got ahead of this and spotted blacks on the first one, but maybe you'll do it better now. So basically what we're going to talk about here is different ways of using black in an image, and really even white too. I mean, even on this Kirby image up here, you can see, the great negative space. But notice the distribution of blacks throughout is actually pretty even. If you blur your eye at it, they kind of stick out, but they don't turn to a muddle of gray. So this is, Kirby's sort of abstract, expressionist, trippy way of spotting blacks throughout. Creates a lot of drama and interest. I'm not going to know the name of every single artist in this slideshow because frankly, the truth is, this was Tom's slideshow, and I thought his slideshow on designing in black and spotting blacks was really so nice that it didn't bother making up my own. But I have customized it, taken out a lot of his and put in some of mine. Of course, this is a Hernandez image, and notice how the blacks create this nice sort of like arc that kind of leads you to the image, and of course this balances everything out over here. These things are kind of important as to these here, balancing out. If these elements weren't here and this element wasn't here, the image to me would look really rather shallow and uninteresting, but these give us a sense of balance and a sense of depth, right? And then these give us a nice sense of flow, and the blacks down here carry that flow through and give us a nice element right here pushing us back up. Now on this image you'll notice the heavy black in the foreground, which creates really kind of a sense of mystery, really. And the man leaning forward, has got more black on his face, and as we go back, there seems to be less and less black evident as these people are more in the light. Now, this image here, some artists might make the mistake of just dropping this dollop of black here if they really didn't know what they were doing. None of my students, of course, but it's really well balanced by this. It's almost like a reflected black under the helicopter. Of course, it's not reflected, but it's definitely running parallel to this here, which creates interest. But even naturally, not a very good use of black because it would have really stuck out. So notice that the artist is really sparingly splattered some blacks throughout to create a nice sense of flow. So you've got this use of black, which creates sort of a diagonal, and then you've got these blacks, which create almost an opposing diagonal, which is kind of an interesting motion. You've got this swoop here, and then this sort of swoop here. So they're kind of, in hook shapes opposing one another. And that's how blacks can help, lead your viewer's eye through the image. So this was Tom's great selection on having the foreground sort of shaded out, and what does that mean? I mean, you've got her silhouette, her sort of silhouette back here behind her, but seeing her in all of her sort of detailed glory here, it really makes her somewhat more vulnerable than the man shaded out in black here, who is clearly more or less in power, right? And then this here, the same here, the mystery of this black hand against this figure. But it's not just the black hand. Notice all the little bits of black spotting throughout to create a lot of balance. You've got this great arc here, and then you've got this nice arch here. So these blacks are creating a lot of energy and dynamism. This, of course, notice that's not just a straight line. It's this diagonal here and then this diagonal here. So they're opposing diagonals, even ever so slight, and they open up back here. Lovely composition. Back here we have this same thing going on as we had earlier with the three men looking at the black image here. We've got this guy mostly blacked out, and then this guy sort of medium black spotted, and this guy lighter black spotted. And that's really effective sort of casting of light. As we roll through the image, the characters go from in shadow to completely in light here. Another great image with a lot of Milton Caniff's blacked out foregrounds. We've got the simple silhouette here with total white here. That's another good thing to keep in mind with these blacks, is also using white. We're going to talk about that more in a few moments. Another guy here with a blacked out foreground creates a sort of sense of mystery, doesn't it? Ditto here creates, again, a sense of mystery. And her as well. Not only a sense of mystery, which is obviously intended because of the gun back here, but there's a real sense of menace because you've got both of these hands hidden behind these bars of black, and then the woman in the middle and the silhouetted gun sort of hidden back here. Really creates a nice sense of drama, and really using black not only moves your eye through the composition and helps to lead the eye and create drama, it also creates a sense of mystery and sometimes a sense of power or a sense of helplessness. What do we need to see? Tom asks here. And really, I mean, this is enough. I mean, to have rendered her in full, detailed, all of her glorious sexiness would have been lovely, but it's really not necessary. There's more of a sense of mystery here, and there's also just really a remarkable sense of the power of that figure just standing there with all of this action going on out here. And I love the balance. I love this and this here. You know, the angle, and then this girl standing here. It's not just blacked here and blacked here. There's black used here and black here, creating a sense of balance. Imagine this picture with any one of these things not filled in with black. You've got the power of threes. 1, 2, 3. It's almost like a waltz. 1, 2, 3. Imagine taking that out, having no black. It would completely change the balance of the picture and the power of it. Imagine if this were drawn in detail and not completely black. You would have had these two isolated spots on either side, framing everything. It would have seemed a little peculiar. Imagine her fully drawn, all this fully drawn, and only this in black. It would have created a strange hole in the composition, but this is really beautifully balanced. Now down here, it's very interesting to have the parents that are talking in black and him completely in view, which really says a lot about kind of the mystery of childhood. We never really know what adults are talking about when we're children, do we? I still don't, quite frankly. And then in many ways, this really kind of highlights that sort of sense of innocence. The adults are off in this mysterious, darkened world, which is, the child is in the foreground. And darkness, in Hinduism anyway, doesn't really represent evil. It represents the unknown. It represents what we don't know. And a lot of times children don't know what adults are thinking. They don't fully understand what adults are talking about. The adults are in darkness. It's similar in science to Hinduism, the concept of black holes and the sort of blackness of space, the end of the universe or whatever. What they're talking about is the unknown. They're not really saying there's nothing in there. What they're saying is that they don't know what it is. It's similar to the idea of Shiva as being, the Lord of Ignorance. He's really the Lord of Blackness, the Lord of things we don't know. I love the way Al Williamson uses blacks throughout almost everything he does. You've got this great dramatic use on Luke Skywalker. By the way, I love this image. Beautiful, so many well-balanced blacks, the center area, and notice how these black bars, this black shape here and this black shape down here, really set each other off. It's also a great way to make a portrait like this dynamic, because these blacks create a diagonal, where there wouldn't really be much of a diagonal. Notice the diagonal those create? Great sense of balance. I mean, I know that this is in black here, but these two side pieces here are really creating the balance. I love the blacks up here, but what's really dramatic about this is how this angular, triangular black, and then this moving black all really is cut by her in the middle. Notice that? So that creates a lot of tension with her standing there having this and this and this. Everything's very active, and it's really just how Williamson uses the black to accentuate her presence. And accentuates it even further by putting these extra bits of black here as well. The blacks are not haphazardly used. And notice how we get less black as we go backwards into the light of the full sun. There's much heavier black in this foreground and middle ground area than in the background area. Frank Frazetta's brilliant use of black. We've got this sort of framing of this diagonal black here, the framing of this diagonal black here, and then 1, 2, 3 kind of repeated in rows here, heavy, and then 1, 2, 3, all going this way, all going this way, and then this great line of spotted blacks leading us through the composition from one framing device to the next. Really a fantastic use of blacks. It creates an incredible sense of flow. But imagine if these blacks weren't here, how much less dramatic the image would be. Imagine how much less dramatic it would be if there wasn't this brilliant use of spotted blacks here as well. Frazetta really masters using blacks, in kind of a realistic but highly dramatic kind of fantasized way. Great Western comic. I love how the train is coming out of this area of black here, and how the cowboy himself is somewhat framed in black, and how the black of his shadow, the black here, and the black here, everything is all leading our eye to the train and to the man and back and forth. These flow to the train, that flows to the train, that flows to the train, that flows to the space between the train, this goes to the train, this goes to the train, this goes to him, this goes up to him. It just creates a lot of tension right in this area, the way these blacks are placed. It's not haphazard at all. It's not only guiding the eye, it's creating a sense of tension, a sense of drama, a sense of, not knowing what's going to happen in this space that all the black is leading us to. Notice this and this. There's a sense of balance. You've got black here, black here, black here, black here, black here, black here. There's always a sense of balance. Black here, black here. Everything is beautifully balanced. And then, of course, the little bit of black spotting throughout the character is critical. There's no black spotting here. There's no black spotting here. A tiny amount of it here. But the black spotting here really helps him pop up off those rocks. If these areas were not black, this cowboy would be very easily lost in these rocks. I think you can see that, right? So that's one thing you can use your blacks to do as well, is to help your characters be spotted. Who cares about light source? Tom asks. And this is a really great exaggerated use of black. I mean, for me, I would find it very difficult to disregard light source and do this sort of abstraction if I didn't actually understand light source somewhat. That's sort of the thing about abandoning rules, is that it's done most successfully by people who fully understand the rules in the first place. I also want to mention, just while we're here as inkers, look at these great marks. I mean, I don't know. I assume this was done with a magic marker or something, but I love just these blocky marks, really nice. And the way that they're spotted in there, it's not just about the silhouette and the blackness back here. The spotted blacks throughout create a real sense of drama. And again, no real regard for light source. Ditto for Jack Kirby's use of blacks, which we mentioned earlier on the first image. He's very aware of light source. You can see that down here, but he's really totally disregarding it in here. And the black becomes really, frankly, a rather psychedelic concept almost. I mean, these blacks are really just psychedelic graphic shapes, and also creating amazing negative shapes in the white. It's another way to think about using black. So if I seem to be speaking somewhat generally, I'm not really, because when you ink your fly, you can be thinking things like, do I want to use blacks to lead the eye through the composition? Do I want to use black to create a sense of mystery? Do I want to disregard light source and use black to create a sense of abstract psychedelic reality? There's a number of different ways you can think about your final homework. And I think when you look at these images, what I'm trying to show you is that spotting blacks and designing in black, it's not just about light source. It's not just about composition. It's not just about creating abstraction. It's about all of these different things. It's about all of these different possibilities. You should be very clear when you set out where you're putting the blacks, why you're putting the blacks there, what kind of image you're creating, and how is spotting blacks going to help the image work better. Silhouettes, these are terrific. I'm not going to talk about them at length. I'm just going to kind of run by and show them. But there's a lot of drama down here. These great Hank Ketchum, Dennis the Menace. Terrific use of silhouettes. I love this here because it balances out this action over here. Notice that? If this were all black, this would be the only area of gray. It would be a little bit strange. But having this area of gray over here creates a sense of balance. And that's really important. You'll notice I've been talking about balance, balance, balance. You don't really want to isolate everything or make everything left heavy, and that kind of thing. Notice also the brilliantly use of spotted blacks over on this side as well, so that these aren't just grayed out or white. More terrific silhouettes. Look at all the great body shapes here. Says a lot about these characters. Great, like another sense of mystery here. I mean, she's heading into this place which is somewhat more known. She's really in a state of mystery here. They're all here, as usual, rain or shine. Sarah's rocks, ugly old hag. There just seems to be a sense of mystery as she's coming out of this car. What would have happened if she were drawn in full light and these people were in shadow? Would have very much changed the meaning of the image. This is a great explanation, I think, in a way, for how we've really lost our sense of design. I mean, this is the Charlie's Angels logo from the 70s, and this is the Charlie's Angels logo from the modern era. Look how completely boring this is. It's really about just showing off the stars and their bodies. We've really lost any sense of design, any sense of illustration. Things have gotten really, really lame here. Look at this great negative space in here. Look at the great negative space all around here. There's no negative space here. This isn't really negative space. It's just a haphazard bunch of nonsense. Look at all the great little design moments that are happening within the smaller areas of negative space. Really fantastic. We're really not training our eyes to appreciate great moments in art anymore. This is terrific. Again, a little bit like Kirby, sort of a disregard for light source again here. This is really nicely designed and simple. But what I'm really more interested in is this fantastic Ketchum use of black. You've got these fabulous heavy shapes here, balanced out by the heavy shapes here and the heavy shapes here. And then in the middle, we return to some black spotting, leaving us some rest. There's not a lot of black in these areas. Notice that? A little spot here, little spot here. And I love how this kind of leads you to her, and this kind of leads you to her. Notice that? Boom, boom. The blacks are kind of leading you to the main characters, emphasizing the main characters. The lack of black in these areas is helping to, keep the image from becoming confusing. I think Tom put this one here to make the point that, this is the original panels in the comic, but when they turn this into a film, look how much more menacing it is when these black forms are looming over her, really looming over her. There's really no sense of drama here. Everything is really flatly and drawn and drawn like an amateur, quite frankly. But you can tell when the film was made that these people had a greater understanding of drama. Also, look at the great shape she's in. These black shapes create a tremendous, weird, pregnant shape that she's lost in. Um, this one Tom threw in here, I don't want to talk about it at length. Over here, I love this top image, this Western image, and how this heavy black looms over and leads you right down through the image. Notice that? There's kind of a nice zigzag where the central character is in the middle of this terrific zigzag. See that flowing energy there with him in the middle, and then it's highlighted and balanced by these spotted blacks here, spotted blacks, him, spotted black. So you've got almost like an axe, a nice flowing Z shape, and then this arc that creates kind of puts the cowboy in the crosshairs of the spotted blacks, which is really very brilliant. Look at the great use of white here, the great use of white here, the great use of white here. A lot of the Western comics that were coming out of like Spain and Italy are really fantastic and full of great use of black. So we're going to talk about Alex Toth, great use of black, white, and gray. Some of these were from Tom's lecture, some from mine. The simplicity of Toth is great. I love this. And this little guy going here. These heavy, heavy, terrifying shapes of these trucks, balanced out by the heavy, terrifying shape of the road, and then right down the middle, the gray area in the sky, the gray area here, and then, of course, the drawing. This looks like what was probably a really quick, thrown off Alex Toth convention sketch, but it's fantastic. Look at these terrific wedges. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, almost like a waltz. And the perfect balance of this here, this sort of whitish wall, and then this fabulous open shape here. I mean, I love watching how Alex Toth can just toss off a perfect design and a perfect balanced spotting of blacks and designing of blacks in an image like that. Terrific Toth. Look how all these blacks are swirling around and creating an action, which is all leading you to the tortured sort of nightmare that this man in the middle is having. These blacks here, these blacks here, these blacks here, this black here, this black here, this black here, this thrust of black here. All of it is creating this swirl of energy around the central character. None of it's confusing. Everything is being reinforced by the motion of the composition and the motion of the black in the composition. Even this shadow points you to his tortured face. Boom, those peaks point you. It's like a wedge of black pointing you to him. A wedge of black pointing you to him. An arc of black pointing you to him. An arc of black pointing you to him. Heavy black, heavy black. Look at the balance, top and bottom, heavy black. Just like in some of the images before, we saw the heavy black side to side. Even on this very image, side to side, side to side. Here it's top and bottom, total perfect balance. More Alex Toth. It's interesting to see this image in color where it works pretty well, but then seeing it in black and white is really interesting also. I love the heavy black of him. Your eye just goes here immediately. It's led there by these shapes, boom and boom. And then there's this little bit of black back here, balanced by her. If she were not in black, wouldn't this look slightly off balance? If this were not in black, but she were, wouldn't it look slightly off balance? So once again, we're moving the eye through the composition, we're creating a sense of balance, we're creating a sense of drama. I love how he's actually standing in the shadow of the plane, and really just this much of him comes into light and a little bit down here. It's a little abstracted, it's an abstracted reality, but it's so beautifully, beautifully generated. Jeffrey Jones, my hero and idol. Look at the fantastic use of all this white here, and then the gray area here, and then this enormous sea of mysterious black, and then her mysterious black hair and the blackness behind her. So you've got a little blackness behind her, the blackness of her hair, and then the moodiness of the sea of black in the foreground. Notice how this bit of black here kind of anchors her to the ground and keeps this whole area from floating into total abstraction, which Jones is not afraid of total abstraction, but in this case it was nice to have this little bit of an anchor below her. Jeffrey Catherine Jones was looking at my work once and said, "You spot blacks well, but where's the white?" Totally revolutionized the way I thought. And you'll notice looking at this, without my even saying anything, how perfectly in balance the use of black spotting and the use of whites are with Jeffrey Jones. I love this wedge and this wedge here. Nice balance here and here. And then this creates a nice sense of balance and then leads us back up through this guy. These blacks go here, and we lead our eye here and come back up through. Look at this terrific negative shape, the great negative shapes within the body itself, and then look at this great wedge. It's really a powerful form. And then over here you've got this little bit of black here. Creates a nice sense of balance as the image kind of flows off into whiteness. Look at the great use of negative shape. Great negative shapes, negative shapes, negative shapes. Great sense. Look at these great negative shapes in the black, leading you down to the main character. There's not much to say here, but look how dramatic this Jeff Jones sketch is. It's stunning. Everything is still perfectly in balance. 1, 2. 1, 2. Everything's really in balance. Great negative shapes, very powerful and dynamic. Over here, nice use of blacks. These aren't pure blacks. They don't have to be. But, great scribbled in and balanced. This little insect here creates a nice sense of balance to what's going on down here. And then we've got all this white. So Jeff Jones, again, using white in this really great designerly way. Follow this negative shape and follow the negative shape as it comes down through here. They're amazing. It's just these terrific collection of organic shapes. The drama of it all heightened by the spotted blacks and heightened by the designed whites. More delicious Jeffrey Jones. Look at the terrific spotted blacks. You've got them not too heavy back here because it's in snow and it's in the background. Notice that the blacks aren't heavy. They're broken up with a lot of whites here, but the blacks are really a lot heavier in the foreground. Notice the balance from side to side. Balance, balance. Plus you've got this waltz thing again. This is like 1, 2, 3. See that? 1, 2, 3. He's playing with the threes a lot. Even here like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You don't always have to think in thirds, but using threes in this way can help you think about balance, can help you think about drama, can help you think about all those sort of things. And then I love the arc of white here and the arc of white here. Look at that arc and this arc here. These arcs are creating balance, they're creating motion. The blacks are creating balance, they're creating motion. Jim Steranko, absolutely terrific. He was in love with film noir. And I think if you watch film noir and you look at Steranko, He was one of the great masters of taking that use of black and white and applying it to comics. I'm probably not going to talk at length about these, but I'm going to blow through them and let you see them because I think you can see the drama of them anyway. And Jim uses the black to create tension with these sort of motion and wrinkle lines in the fabric. Look at the great negative shapes. All these black negative shapes are truly fantastic. This incredible spotlight, just beautiful stuff. More Steranko. Notice the balance here to here. Wow. I mean, follow that through. And then that bold shape, and then this angle here, kind of running not parallel, but reinforcing this angle here, reinforcing this angle here, then contrasting angles here, contrasting angles here, the face totally in black, creating a sense of mystery, the character off stage, creating a sense of mystery. This is just a beautiful, beautiful use of spotted blacks guiding us through the entire composition. Like we know to go right here because of the way he's led us to this spot with the use of black and white in perfect balance. More great Steranko. I'm really going to talk about this one. Look at how all the tension is happening in this weird negative shape. You've got this weird negative shape here, and this guy bent over and her with the gun back here. Look at the balance. 1, 2. 1, 2. Like the toast with the two trucks and the two sides of the street. There's a sense of balance here. What if this weren't here and it were just him here? It would seem a little top heavy, a little left hand heavy. When in doubt, black it out. That's Tom's thing. But this is something that I've seen here with these city streets where I draw these. Sometimes I'll do, like, this isn't my image, but I'll do this kind of thing and then realize it looks better with black. But, these things look so much better black than they do detailed in. So that's one of the things to think about is maybe sometimes the image doesn't require detail. Maybe sometimes what the image just requires is more black. I mean, this is lovely, but this is far more mysterious. Are you after lovely or are you after mysterious? They're both valid decisions to make, but the point is you have to make the decision. If you're after mysterious and you do that, it ain't going to work. If you're after lovely, maybe this isn't the way to go. Here's a good question. Do you want your silhouette to be black, or do you want a few little details to show through? They both look pretty good. I can't really decide which one I like better. Okay, so our homework is that fly image. And kind of what gave me the idea for that was having seen this great Frankenstein image. Notice this Frankenstein face, there's some spotted blacks in it, but it's still, and they're nice, but it's not very dramatic. Boom. Look what happens when these extra blacks are all added in here. So let's look at these side by side. Look how much drama there is in that image. So when you approach the fly for the last time, hopefully you can think about, why am I spotting blacks? Am I trying to be abstract? Am I disregarding light source? Am I creating drama? Am I creating enough balance? Am I dealing in silhouettes? Am I trying to create a sense of mystery? Am I trying to make something obvious? Think about all the different possibilities. Think about all the different ways you can use black. And before you even start, you should sit down with your pencil and that fly image and start penciling it in. And take everything you've learned in the class so far, everything, and apply it to this final fly image. Not just about designing in black. This fly image isn't just to showcase how you're thinking about black, but to showcase everything you've learned about using the brush, everything you've ever learned about inking in this class. It's been great, you guys. I hope you guys have had as much fun as I have. If you have any questions, if you think I should be being more specific, please leave some comments. Thank you so much.